Welcome back, everyone. Comment where you're watching from today as we share a heartwarming story that shows how a single act of kindness can turn someone's entire day around. It was a rainy Thursday evening in Atlanta when Thomas Wright's delivery van got a flat tire on Highland Avenue. The young delivery driver had been working double shifts for weeks, trying to save enough money to help his younger sister through nursing school. The rain fell steadily, turning what should have been his last delivery of the night into what felt like the final straw in an already challenging week. Thomas had been working for the delivery service for 3 years, maintaining a perfect record despite the long hours and demanding schedule. At 26, he carried the weight of family responsibilities on his shoulders with quiet dignity, never complaining about the constant struggle to make ends meet. As he stood there in the rain, his uniform already soaked through, Thomas checked his phone. The roadside assistance would take at least 2 hours to arrive, and he still had a van full of packages that needed to be delivered before the end of his shift. His supervisor, Michael Hudson, had already warned him about delivery delays, even though they were rarely his fault. The street was surprisingly quiet for that time of evening, with only occasional cars passing by, their headlights cutting through the rain and reflecting off the wet pavement. Thomas had just resigned himself to a long wait when a large black SUV slowed down nearby. Most people would have driven past, but this vehicle came to a complete stop. The door opened, and out stepped Shaq, the legendary basketball player known not just for his prowess on the court but for his larger-than-life personality and heart to match. He was dressed casually in a black sweater and jeans, but his imposing figure was unmistakable even in the rain. "Need some help?" Shaq called out, his voice carrying easily over the sound of the rainfall. Thomas, who had grown up watching Shaq play, could hardly believe his eyes. Here was one of his childhood heroes, stopping on a rainy night to help a stranger. Thomas tried to politely decline the offer, not wanting to burden someone of Shaq's stature with his problems, but Shaq was already rolling up his sleeves. "Man, we all need help sometimes," he said with that characteristic warm smile. "Let me take a look at that tire." What happened next would soon become a viral sensation, though neither man knew it at the time. A passing motorist, Angela Wilson, had recognized Shaq and started recording the scene on her phone. The video would capture something far more meaningful than just a celebrity helping with a flat tire. As Shaq worked on changing the tire, he and Thomas began to talk. The basketball legend asked about Thomas's life, showing genuine interest in the young man's story. Thomas found himself opening up about his struggles, his sister's dreams of becoming a nurse, and his own determination to help her succeed. "You know," Shaq said as he efficiently worked on the tire, "I've been blessed with success, but what matters most is what we do for others. Your dedication to your sister, man, that's real success right there." The rain continued to fall, but neither man seemed to notice. Shaq shared stories from his own life, talking about the people who had helped him along the way and the importance of paying it forward. His massive hands made the tire iron look like a toy, but it was his words that were having the biggest impact. "I had people who believed in me," Shaq explained, "people who saw more in me than just a tall kid who could play basketball. Sometimes all it takes is one person to show they care, to help you believe in yourself." As they worked together to secure the spare tire, Thomas couldn't help but notice how Shaq treated him with respect and equality, despite their vastly different circumstances. There was no hint of condescension or celebrity attitude, just one human being helping another. The task was almost complete when Shaq paused, reaching into his pocket. "Listen," he said, "I want to help with more than just this tire." He pulled out his phone and asked for Thomas's contact information. "I know some people who might be interested in helping your sister with her nursing school." Thomas was overwhelmed by the gesture, but Shaq wasn't finished. He insisted on following Thomas to ensure he completed his deliveries safely, turning what could have been a disastrous evening into an unforgettable experience of kindness and connection. As they prepared to part ways, Shaq shared something that would stick with Thomas forever. "You remind me of myself when I was younger," he said. "Working hard, taking care of family, never giving up. But remember this, strength isn't just about carrying the weight alone. It's about knowing when to accept help and then using your success to help others." The video of their encounter, captured by Angela Wilson, would soon spread across social media, touching millions of hearts. But what made the story truly special wasn't just the celebrity involvement, it was the genuine connection between two people from different worlds, brought together by a simple act of kindness. What viewers couldn't see in the video was the profound impact this encounter would have on Thomas's life. As he watched Shaq's SUV disappear into the rainy night, he felt something he hadn't experienced in a long time: hope. Not just because of the promise of help for his sister, but because someone of Shaq's stature had taken the time to truly see him, to acknowledge his struggles and his worth. The rain had finally begun to ease as Thomas completed his final delivery of the night. His supervisor, Michael Hudson, had called to check on him, surprised to hear the story of what had happened. "Sometimes life sends us angels in unexpected forms," Michael said, his voice warm with understanding. Back at the delivery depot, Thomas's colleague Robert Manning was waiting to hear the full story. As Thomas recounted the evening's events, he realized that Shaq had given him something more valuable than just help with a tire. He had reminded him that no one has to face their struggles alone. That night, as Thomas finally arrived home, he found several messages on his phone. News of the encounter had already begun to spread, but what touched him most was a simple text from Shaq. "Keep pushing forward, brother. Your sister's dreams are worth every effort. We'll talk soon." The story would continue to unfold in ways neither Thomas nor Shaq could have predicted that rainy evening. But for now, one truth was clear. Sometimes the most powerful moments of connection happen in the most unexpected circumstances, when one person chooses to stop and help another in need. Have you ever experienced an unexpected act of kindness that changed your perspective? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming tales of compassion and connection. Remember, as Shaq demonstrated, true greatness isn't measured by fame or success, but by how we treat others in their moments of need. Sometimes, all it takes is one person stopping to help to remind us that we're not alone in our struggles. The morning after the rainy encounter, Thomas Wright woke up to find that his world had changed in ways he couldn't have imagined. The video of Shaq helping him with the flat tire, captured by Angela Wilson, had gone viral overnight. His phone was flooded with messages from friends, family, and even strangers who had been touched by the simple act of kindness they had witnessed. At the delivery depot, Thomas's arrival was met with excited chatter from his colleagues. Jessica Holmes, a fellow driver who had known Thomas for years, was the first to greet him. "You've always been the one helping others," she said with a warm smile. "It's about time someone was there to help you." Michael Hudson, Thomas's supervisor, called him into the office. The usually stern manager had a different demeanor today. "I've been watching you work double shifts for months," he admitted. "Never complaining, always putting others first. Maybe Shaq saw what we've all seen in you." Meanwhile, across town, Shaq was having breakfast at his favorite diner when the owner, Catherine Brooks, approached his table. "That video of you helping the delivery driver," she said, "it's inspired my son to start a support group for working students." This was just the first hint of how their encounter was affecting others. The story gained momentum when local news reporter David Patterson picked it up. "In a world of carefully crafted public images," he reported, "this genuine moment of connection between a sports legend and a hardworking delivery driver has touched hearts across the country." Thomas's sister, Rachel Wright, was overwhelmed when she learned what had happened. A nursing student struggling to balance her studies with part-time work, she had always felt guilty about her brother's sacrifices. "Thomas has given up so much for me," she told the reporter, her voice thick with emotion. "He deserves every bit of goodness coming his way." Shaq, true to his word, had already set things in motion. He contacted his friend Dr. Laura Turner, chief of nursing at a prominent hospital, to discuss scholarship opportunities for Rachel. "When I heard about Thomas's dedication to his sister's dreams," Dr. Turner said, "I knew we had to help. This is exactly the kind of commitment to family and service that we want to support in healthcare." The impact continued to spread. Robert Manning, who had been one of the first to hear Thomas's story at the depot, started an initiative among the delivery drivers to help each other during difficult situations. "If Shaq can stop to help," he reasoned, "so can we." Local business owner Christopher Watson was so moved by the story that he reached out to the delivery company. "I want to start a program," he proposed, helping our delivery drivers with emergency vehicle maintenance. No one should have to wait hours in the rain for help. Thomas's regular customers began to share their own stories about his kindness. Elizabeth Lawrence, an elderly woman on his route, spoke about how Thomas always took time to help her with her packages, even carrying them inside when her arthritis was acting up. "That young man has a heart of gold," she said. "Now the whole world knows what we've known all along." The viral video caught the attention of Jason Parker, a local education advocate. He reached out to Thomas through social media, offering to help create a support network for working siblings putting family members through school. "Your story resonates with so many people," he wrote. "Let's turn this moment into a movement." As the day progressed, more details about Thomas's life came to light. His colleague William Bryant shared how Thomas had covered his shifts last winter when William's son was in the hospital. "He never asked for anything in return," William recalled. "Just said that's what friends do for each other." The rain had returned that afternoon, but this time Thomas wasn't alone when he made his deliveries. Other drivers in the area would honk and wave, offering assistance if he needed it. The sense of community among these hard-working individuals had been strengthened by witnessing one simple act of kindness. Angela Wilson, who had recorded the viral video, visited the depot to meet Thomas properly. "I've been a content creator for years," she explained, "but I've never captured anything as genuine as that moment between you and Shaq. It wasn't about celebrity or status, it was about human connection." Local mechanic Douglas Richards was inspired to start a Pay It Forward program at his shop, offering free tire changes to delivery drivers. "Seeing Shaq out there in the rain, helping without hesitation," he said, "made me realize we all have the power to make a difference." The story took another turn when Jennifer Foster, a social worker, reached out to Thomas. She wanted to create a resource guide for working siblings supporting family members through education. "Your story," she explained, "has opened up a conversation about the hidden struggles many families face." Throughout the day, Shaq remained actively involved. He arranged a meeting with Gregory Ward, a prominent Education Foundation director, to discuss creating a scholarship program specifically for working siblings supporting family members through school. "Thomas and Rachel's story," Shaq explained, "represents thousands of untold stories of sacrifice and determination." At the hospital where Rachel was studying nursing, her instructors had taken notice of the story. Dr. Michelle Hammond approached her after class. "Your brother's dedication to your success," she said, "that's the kind of commitment to family that makes great healthcare professionals. You're both an inspiration." The local community continued to rally around Thomas and Rachel. Catherine Turner, a small business owner on Thomas's route, started a fund to help delivery drivers pursue educational opportunities. "Sometimes we forget that the people who serve our community every day have dreams of their own," she reflected. As evening approached, Thomas received another unexpected call from Benjamin Murray, a corporate executive who had been moved by the story. "I want to help expand this movement," he said. "Let's create a foundation that supports working families pursuing education. Your story could be the catalyst for real change." The depot was buzzing with activity as drivers ended their shifts. James Curtis, a veteran driver, gathered everyone around. "What happened yesterday wasn't just about a flat tire," it was about recognizing the dignity in every person's struggle and the power we have to help each other. Thomas's phone lit up with a message from Shaq. "Brother, this is just the beginning. Your dedication to your sister inspired me, but it's your heart that's inspiring others. Get ready for some big changes." The message was followed by an invitation to meet with Victoria Horton, a prominent philanthropist known for her work in education access. She wanted to discuss ways to support other families in similar situations. "Your story," she wrote, "has highlighted a need we've overlooked for too long." As Thomas completed his final delivery of the day, he reflected on how much had changed in just 24 hours. The weight of his struggles hadn't disappeared, but somehow it felt lighter, shared by a community that had been inspired to come together and help. Back at the depot, Michael Hudson gathered the drivers for an announcement. Inspired by recent events, the company was implementing new policies to support drivers pursuing education or supporting family members through school. Sometimes it takes a moment like this, he said, to remind us that we're all in this together. The day concluded with a surprise visit from Anthony Kennedy, a local business leader who had been touched by the story. He proposed creating a mentorship program connecting working students with professionals in their desired fields. What you and your sister represent, he told Thomas, is the kind of determination we need to nurture. Have you ever witnessed how a single act of kindness can create a ripple effect of positive change? Share your experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of human connection. Remember, as this story shows us, sometimes the most powerful changes begin with one person choosing to stop and help another in need. In doing so, they inspire others to open their hearts and extend their hands, creating a chain reaction of compassion that can transform entire communities. 1 week after the viral moment that captured hearts across the nation, the impact of Shaq's roadside kindness continued to grow in unexpected ways. The morning began with Thomas Wright arriving at a local community center, where Shaq had arranged a special meeting that would change not just his life, but the lives of many others. The community center's main hall was filled with familiar faces and new allies. Dr. Laura Turner, who had been working closely with Shaq, stood at the podium addressing the gathered crowd. What we witnessed that rainy night wasn't just about changing attire, she began. It was about recognizing the quiet heroes among us who sacrifice daily for their families. Rachel Wright, Thomas's sister, sat in the front row, her nursing textbooks clutched close. The past week had been a whirlwind of emotions as she watched her brother's dedication receive the recognition it had always deserved. Next to her sat Angela Wilson, the woman whose quick thinking to record the encounter had helped spark this movement. Shaq entered the room with his characteristic warm presence, but today he wasn't alone. He was accompanied by Gregory Ward and Victoria Horton, two prominent philanthropists who had been deeply moved by Thomas's story. Together, they were about to announce something that would transform many lives. When I stopped to help Thomas that night, Shaq addressed the room, his voice carrying the same genuine care he had shown in the rain. I saw something familiar in his eyes. The determination to lift others up, even when carrying your own heavy load. That's the kind of spirit we need to support. The announcement that followed left the room in stunned silence. The newly established Siblings Supporting Siblings Foundation, funded initially by Shaq and supported by a coalition of business leaders, would provide comprehensive support for working individuals helping family members pursue education. Michael Hudson, Thomas's supervisor, stood up to share how the delivery company had been transformed. We've implemented new flexible scheduling for employees pursuing education or supporting family members through school, he announced. Thomas and Rachel's story opened our eyes to the challenges many of our workers face silently. Catherine Brooks, who had been coordinating with local businesses, revealed that dozens of companies had joined the initiative. We're creating a network of support, she explained, from emergency vehicle assistance to study spaces with free Wi-Fi for working students. The impact had spread beyond the local community. Jennifer Foster, now heading the foundation's outreach program, shared stories of similar initiatives starting in other cities. What happened that rainy night in Atlanta has inspired people across the country to look around and ask, who in my community needs support? Thomas listened to all this with quiet amazement, his hand clasped tightly by his sister. Rachel, who had always carried the weight of knowing her dreams came at the cost of her brother's sacrifice, finally felt that weight lifting. Dr. Michelle Hammond, her nursing program director, had already arranged for her to transition to a full scholarship program. Robert Manning, Thomas's colleague, had become the coordinator for the depot's new mutual aid network. We've always looked out for each other, he said, but now we have the resources and support to do it properly. No one has to face their struggles alone anymore. The story had caught the attention of Douglas Richards, a local business owner who had struggled through college while supporting his own sister years ago. He announced a mentorship program connecting experienced professionals with working siblings. We've been where you are, he told the gathered crowd. Now it's our turn to reach back and help others on the same journey. William Bryant, whose shifts Thomas had covered during his son's illness, spoke about the ripple effects of kindness. What Shaq did that night wasn't just help with a flat tire. He showed us that everyone, no matter how famous or successful, has the power to stop and help another person in need. Elizabeth Lawrence, one of Thomas's elderly customers, had organized a community support group for working students. Sometimes the smallest gestures make the biggest difference, she shared. A quiet place to study, a home-cooked meal, or just someone to talk to who understands your struggles. The foundation's impact continued to grow as Jason Parker announced partnerships with local colleges and technical schools. We're creating pathways for working siblings to pursue their own education while supporting their family members, he explained. No one should have to choose between their dreams and their family's needs. Benjamin Murray, representing a coalition of corporate partners, revealed plans for a nationwide expansion of the program. What started with a flat tire in Atlanta is becoming a movement, he declared. We're seeing similar initiatives spring up across the country, all inspired by Thomas and Rachel's story. Anthony Kennedy, a local education advocate, shared how the story had changed perspectives on success. We often celebrate individual achievement, he noted, but Thomas and Rachel showed us that true success is about lifting each other up, about family supporting family. Throughout the event, Shaq remained characteristically humble, deflecting praise to focus on the community's response. I just stopped to help someone in need, he said. The real story is how this community came together to create lasting change. The foundation's first major initiative would provide comprehensive support for 50 families in situations similar to Thomas and Rachel's. But this is just the beginning, Victoria Horton announced. We're creating a model that can be replicated in communities across the country. James Curtis, the veteran delivery driver who had witnessed Thomas's dedication firsthand, spoke about the changes at the depot. We've always been more than just co-workers, he said, but now we have the resources and support to really help each other succeed. Christopher Watson, whose initial offer to help with vehicle maintenance had grown into a full-service support program, shared plans for expansion. Every delivery driver in Atlanta will have access to emergency assistance, he promised. No one should have to wait hours in the rain for help. The morning's announcements concluded with a surprise video message from delivery drivers across the country, sharing their own stories of supporting family members through education. The message was clear: Thomas and Rachel's story had struck a chord with thousands of others in similar situations. As the event drew to a close, Shaq pulled Thomas aside for a quiet moment. "Remember what I told you that night in the rain?" he asked. "About strength not being about carrying the weight alone? Look around. This is what happens when we help each other carry the load." Rachel, who had been quiet throughout most of the event, finally stood to address the room. Her voice trembled with emotion as she spoke about her brother's sacrifices and the unexpected blessing that had come from that rainy night. "My brother has always been my hero," she said. "Now the world knows why." The day ended with the announcement of the Foundation's website and support hotline, where working siblings could connect with resources and each other. "This is more than just financial support," Gregory Ward explained. "It's about creating a community that understands and uplifts each other." Have you ever witnessed how a single act of kindness can inspire a community to come together and create lasting change? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring tales of compassion and transformation. Remember, as this story shows us, sometimes the greatest acts of kindness don't just help one person, they inspire entire communities to open their hearts and work together for positive change. In doing so, they remind us that we all have the power to make a difference in someone's life. 1 year after the rainy night that changed everything, hundreds of people gathered at the Atlanta Community Center to celebrate the first anniversary of the Siblings Supporting Siblings Foundation. The same hall that had hosted their initial meeting was now filled with success stories, each one a testament to how a single act of kindness could transform countless lives. Thomas Wright stood at the podium, his delivery uniform replaced by a sharp suit, though his humble demeanor remained unchanged. Beside him, his sister Rachel, now in her final year of nursing school, beamed with pride. The siblings had become symbols of hope for families across the country, their story inspiring a movement that continued to grow beyond anything they could have imagined. Shaq sat in the front row, his presence as warm and encouraging as it had been that rainy night. He had remained actively involved in the foundation, but always insisted that the real heroes were the working siblings who sacrificed daily for their family's dreams. Dr. Laura Turner stepped forward to share the foundation's impressive first-year statistics. "We've provided support to over 500 families," she announced, helping working siblings maintain their own lives while supporting their family members through education. But the numbers only tell part of the story. The real impact could be seen in the faces throughout the room. Michael Hudson, Thomas's former supervisor, had implemented the flexible scheduling program across all regional delivery depots, affecting thousands of workers. What started as one depot's response to Thomas's story has become company policy nationwide, he shared proudly. Catherine Brooks, who had coordinated the business community's response, reported that the network of supporting companies had grown to include over 200 local businesses. From free tire changes to study spaces, from meal programs to emergency assistance, our community has come together in ways we never imagined possible. Angela Wilson, whose viral video had helped spark the movement, had documented dozens of similar stories throughout the year. "Every week, we receive new videos of people helping others, inspired by what they witnessed that night," she explained, sharing a montage of these moments on the large screen. Robert Manning, now heading the depot's expanded mutual aid network, shared how the program had transformed workplace culture. "We're not just co-workers anymore," he said. "We're a community that understands and supports each other's dreams and responsibilities." The foundation's impact had spread far beyond Atlanta. Jennifer Foster reported that similar programs had been established in 30 other cities, each adapted to meet their community's specific needs. "What happened here created a template for how communities can support working families pursuing education," she explained. Douglas Richards's mentorship program had grown to include hundreds of professionals who had once been working siblings themselves. "The cycle of support continues," he said. "Those who receive help today become tomorrow's mentors and supporters." William Bryant, whose personal experience with Thomas's kindness had inspired him to become one of the foundation's most active volunteers, shared stories of lives transformed. "It's not just about financial support," he emphasized. "It's about showing people they're not alone in their struggles." Elizabeth Lawrence's community support group had expanded into a national network of second homes for working students. "Sometimes what people need most is a quiet place to study, a warm meal, and someone who understands their journey," she explained, her voice warm with compassion. The foundation's educational partnerships, coordinated by Jason Parker, had created new opportunities for working siblings. "We've developed flexible study programs, online resources, and support systems that acknowledge the unique challenges these students face," he reported. Benjamin Murray announced that the corporate partnership program had secured funding for the next 5 years. "What started as a response to one story has become a sustainable movement for change," he declared. "We're committed to supporting these families for the long term." Throughout the celebration, stories of impact filled the room. Christopher Watson shared how his vehicle assistance program had helped over 1,000 drivers in emergency situations. "Every time we help someone, we remember that rainy night and how one person's decision to stop and help changed so many lives." Victoria Horton revealed plans for international expansion, with programs being developed in Canada and the United Kingdom. "The need to support working siblings isn't limited by borders," she explained. "Neither should our response be." James Curtis, the veteran driver who had watched Thomas's journey from the beginning, spoke about the cultural shift he'd witnessed. "People talk about respect for delivery drivers differently now," he said. "They see us as people with dreams and responsibilities, not just service providers." The impact on the medical community had been particularly significant. Dr. Michelle Hammond reported that Rachel's story had inspired new support programs for nursing students across the country. "We're seeing more students from working-class backgrounds entering healthcare, bringing valuable perspectives and dedication to our field," she shared. Anthony Kennedy announced a new initiative to support working siblings interested in entrepreneurship. "Thomas and Rachel showed us that determination and family support can overcome any obstacle," he said. "We want to help channel that spirit into new opportunities." Rachel's turn at the podium brought tears to many eyes. "A year ago, I carried the weight of knowing my dreams came at the cost of my brother's sacrifice," she said. "Today, I stand here as proof that with community support, families can lift each other up without having to give up their own dreams." Thomas spoke about the lessons learned over the past year. "What Shaq taught me that night wasn't just about accepting help," he reflected. "It was about understanding that we're all connected, that every act of kindness has the power to create ripples of change." Gregory Ward shared the Foundation's vision for the future. "We're not just providing support," he explained. "We're changing how society views family responsibility and educational access. We're creating a world where no one has to choose between supporting their family and pursuing their dreams." The celebration included a special surprise, a video compilation of similar acts of kindness inspired by Shaq's example. Footage showed people stopping to help strangers, communities coming together to support working students, and businesses implementing programs to assist employees pursuing education. Shaq's closing remarks captured the spirit of the movement he had helped inspire. "That night in the rain, I just saw someone who needed help," he said with characteristic humility. But Thomas and Rachel showed us something more important. They showed us the power of family love and dedication. What we're celebrating today isn't just about changing a tire or creating a foundation. It's about recognizing and supporting the quiet heroes among us who sacrifice daily for their families. The event concluded with the announcement of the Foundation's expanded goals for the coming year, including doubling the number of families supported and establishing programs in every major city across the country. But perhaps more importantly, it celebrated how a simple act of kindness had sparked a nationwide movement of compassion and support. Have you ever been part of a movement that started with one small act of kindness? Share your stories in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more inspiring tales of community and transformation. Remember, as this story shows us, sometimes the greatest changes begin with the simplest acts of kindness. When we stop to help others, we don't just solve one problem, we inspire a chain reaction of compassion that can transform entire communities. As Shaq demonstrated that rainy night, true greatness isn't measured by fame or success, but by how we lift others up when they need it most.